Welcome to the Puddle Gum Podcast.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We're talking with Matt from Cathedral Bells. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So we're here. We're going to talk about your new album and just kind of wherever the conversation goes. You recently released a new full length called Ether. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, that came out just a couple of days ago. That was on January 29th, which is Friday, and we were out on Monday, February 1st. So it's very recent, very fresh. It's kind of strange, but it's also nice to have it out. You know, it feels weird to have another album, like out in the pandemic, with the COVID, everything we have going on. But aside from that, being able to see the, album getting, streams and people reaching out saying, that they enjoy the album and everything is, it definitely is it's motivational to want to keep creating music. And, I'm glad that it's, the album's out and getting any kind of feedback, So yeah, it came from 2020s was when all of that was worked on, So that was a year for all of us for sure.
Yeah. So the previous LP that you released, you recorded that in 2019, and then
that was
the pandemic hit.
2019, 2018, 19.
When we started talking back in last summer, I know you were working on the album. So did you start on this album right away?
Pretty much, yeah. There was I was working on the single Undertow, which you get the cover, and that was with Birth DIY, which is Spirikoff's side label. So that was kind of the first thing that I did, and pretty much right after that I started demoing new tracks, but a lot of those tracks were I went back to the drawing board and scratched a lot of demos that I was working on, and basically I started coming up with the album from there. And then it was just done in sessions through 2020. It's pretty much a song at a time for the most part. I didn't have all of them. There was no structure. I didn't really know what I was doing. Originally I wanted to do an EP, and Spirikoff, they usually just do albums. So, we ended up doing some kind of a mini album, if you may, a short LP. I don't really know to be considered an EP. Yeah. There's 8 tracks, but we didn't have the track Undertow with it. We decided to keep that with just Birth DIY, their side label. And, it just kind of worked out. We ended up with the collage of songs we had just kind of came together with the album. It just kind of worked for, what everyone wanted to do, I guess.
I know you had, I think you just added, if I understand, you added Aaron on drums, kind of in between, or at least right after that.
Yeah, he started
when
playing
did you join the band?
He first played, I remember it was December 19th, I believe, 2019, somewhere around there, at the end of December. That was his first show. We played in St. Pete, Florida. And then from there, we played a handful of shows up until the pandemic. We got to actually play New York and New Jersey. We got to do a little out of state thing, or just pretty much a handful of shows of that and some Florida shows. And then Velvet Spirit came out, and then we had a show the day of in Orlando at this little coffee place called Stardust. And then that was it. We haven't done anything pretty much since, no live streaming or anything. But we just pretty much, I just tried to, work on finishing the album. And then that's Kyle, he hasn't played a show, but he's pretty much joined. He's done he has a lot of engineering he just did, Camp Trash, engineered their record. They're on Count Your Lucky Stars, a cool band. He did, I think, Hail the Sun, which is on Equal Vision. He did, I think I said, I think it's called that. But he's just been doing a lot of stuff for the beginning of the new year. So, but before that though, towards the end of working on the rest of the Ether album, he actually did a lot of he helped a lot with recording some parts, you know, in his studio at home, like making extra synth, like doubling on bass and like some guitar work. But yeah, he also mixed the album too, which was kind of a interesting step for the project to kind of have like an in-house mix versus I used Brian Cook from the band Panda Riot. They're based in Chicago. It's like a shoegazy kind of band. But yeah, he did a lot of the mixing and mastering for most of, or pretty much all of Velvet Spirit. And yeah, so it was just like a different texture, I guess, and you know, bringing, that's what he did, you know, Undertow as well. So having Kyle do Ether, that's why another reason we wanted to keep Undertow like as a single with Birth DIY, just kind of have that out on its own. So we wanted to kind of keep the album cohesive. And yeah, so that is the
very cool,
pretty much process where we're at.
Did you have anybody join you on instruments in Velvet Spirit when you were recording?
For Velvet Spirit, I think that was pretty much me. I had a first member he did some guitar work. His name was David. He played in the kind of the beginning of the project. He did a little guitar work on like an ambient part of the ending of Eighth Wonder of the World was part of the album. But yeah, other than that, it was all pretty much me. But yeah, like with Ether, it was definitely more of, I mean, still kind of the same works, like everything was kind of done through, you know, like at home, and then like I carried the stems over to, you know, for Kyle to kind of work on with the mix, and then adding some things in a way, like kind of like, you know, like production or producing it. I feel like with the project and where it's nice to kind of have at least like demoing at home and recording at home. Like it just feels good to kind of just do it on my own to a certain degree. It's just more comfortable, like especially with like doing vocals and stuff. But I've definitely done like in studio with other people too, which I'm not opposed to. But like, I don't know, it just seems to work that way for me for the.
Well, hopefully everything opens up soon, you know, where you can
exactly.
Support this on tour, and
that'd be cool to have some records out and playing shows. Mm-hmm. That is definitely that would be nice to have shows again. But obviously, when it's safe, when we know what the hell is going on, it's been kind of weird, you know.
Do you find yourself wanting to keep going on, you know, write some more, or just focus on this album?
Well, I feel like at least currently, I have a new song that I've been kind of, you know, working on that I pretty much have all mapped out. I just really gotta get the last parts of it, like lyrically. But yeah.
So I know like Cathedral Bells is very much driven by synth. Do you tend to write on the synth, or do you write on the guitar when you're first structuring the song?
That is definitely a hard question to come at because I don't think it's ever consistent. Like, I don't know, it just really depends on, I think my main focus is really like just structuring the drums. I think that's, at least lately, like what it comes down to, is I want to have like some kind of, then that way you can really, you know, go back and demo things, and you can always change the drums up or whatever. But, so that's usually like the first thing, is like having some kind of rhythm or like some kind of BPM or like like, is it a fast song, slow song, or like whatever. And then once I kind of get that part, at least that like have some kind of like mood or like theme, at least like general idea, which always could change. Like things always end up changing, but kind of just setting that part. And then as far as synth or guitar, it could even just be like guitar or bass, or it could be just like I don't know. It's weird how I don't really know how to, it's a tough one. It's never the same.
I can hear that because it's very, you know, the drums really drive the songs in most of your songs. And yeah, I can hear that structure that you're talking about. I'm also an engineer, so I'm really interested in the recording process. I love talking to people about how they structure songs, how they write them. You know what I mean? I just think it's super interesting.
Yeah, it's unique. You know, everyone has their own ways, and it's really cool to hear, you know, like other, other stories from artists and projects and how they do their engineering and their process in general, like how they demo. But yeah, I feel like, that's kind of the thing with this project. I started it kind of summer, fall 2018. And like from there, I just kind of figured out a formula, and like each new song or like maybe each like release, I feel like I get a better idea of, envision, of what, I portray the project to be. It's always been like, I don't have like a set like album, where it's usually like a collage of songs that just kind of go into an album or just an EP or whatever it would be. Like it just kind of meshes together, because that's kind of how it is for me with music. It's just, letting it out and just obsessing over like a track and just, pouring out what you can do with it the best that you can, I guess. When I write, I'm very like vulnerable. Like I have like some kind of message or some kind of reason why I want to make a song. It's more for like myself. I don't necessarily care if anyone's going to relate or how they're going to perceive it or what they're going to.
For, as far as gear is concerned, what's your favorite, like what are your favorite synths? What do you like tend to turn to? Yeah.
I mean, I'm a firm believer. I love Roland anything, like Roland electronic sets, Roland like samples, synthesizers as well. So I mean, definitely trust Roland. I have a JDXI, which is a more like newer synth, but it's also kind of jack of all trades if you're trying to get, you can have fun with that for sure. But yeah, I mean, Roland in general, is definitely a safe bet.
So with this album, you have more of a band. Did you start writing more together, or everybody was starting to contribute, with Ether?
Well, I still feel like it was more kind of like still the same process where I kind of just got like the sequence and everything. There was one track, it's a track called Out of Nowhere, where I actually got Aaron's drum samples from a Roland kit that electronic kit that he has. And I was able to like, customize it into the track and then finish out the sequence. But aside from like that track, most of it was like still kind of like mainly done through, just kind of at home. Yeah, the process was a little different in terms of like we would get together a couple times and, we would like contribute with like synth parts, like we would kind of collaborate on it together collectively in Kyle's studio at his place. But for the most part, everything was just kind of done at home for me. Aside from that Out of Nowhere track, a lot of it though, towards the end of the record, Kyle was a little bit more open with his availability. So we kind of was able to kind of finish out the record, and he did a lot of recordings from home, like, guitar and like doubling the bass and synthesizers. And like we kind of communicate back and forth kind of, and if you may, like with our, just we would talk about it and kind of, figure out the songs, like what we liked and stuff and, like what it needed and kind of stuff like that. So it was just like a distant, conversation about it, and it turned into what it was. He added a lot to the single Ether, and Dark Aura as well. That was another track that he contributed a lot to. And so I would just say, like, in a sense, even though like I got like the structure and like the main, like, like the drums, like the main like sequence of the song, like Kyle really did like co-write, a lot of like, of the ending of the, and he did the mixing too. So I'd say like there was definitely like more involvement in that sense. And Aaron as well, like he's like been around for the writing process, and like we've definitely like jammed some ideas. And but yeah, like the drum thing is a weird thing because it's not really like live. I mean, there's live recordings, but it's all just kind of like customized and like I don't know, I just kind of have a weird craft with the drums, which is a weird formula for sure. So that's kind of like what I've done for all of Cathedral Bells, like that drumming style, kind of like samples, recorded samples, and just like, just customizing like the samples and sequencing it like manually. I use actually Audacity and I just like get a bunch of like tracks, and I just throw in a tempo, and I'll just basically have like a bunch of different stems of, like snares and like drum, like kicks, hi-hat cymbals and like, other random noises.
Yeah. When you record vocals, then you record yourself, or was that with Kyle?
The vocals were done at home for me. Like I just pretty much, I think I kind of figured out, every single track that I've done for this project, like the catalog has been different in terms of like recording vocals but I think I have a formula now that I'm probably going to go with for the future, that if it works for, like the songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think recording at home, unless if there was, for whatever reason, recording. I know like recording with Kyle vocals or doing like vocals with him would be, it would sound good, it would be good. But I just feel like most comfortable doing it at home as of now. But you know what I'm saying? It's just in terms of like scheduling and stuff, it's just easier to kind of hash those things out.
There's something really personal with recording vocals.
Yeah.
I know.
But it's always good to have like a second ear too, or like, if there's, but I try to listen into that while recording in, like, oh, did the mic make is there a weird noise going on? So
Kyle mixed it, correct? Like, did you guys mix it together as a band, like come together and just kind of like finalize the mixes together?
Kind of. Mostly he mixed on his own terms, but then like, we have like notes but then like towards the like, the final end kind of thing, like, we definitely like listened through and like, we basically we were all together and we were able to like give any notes, like leveling things or whatever it could be. So yeah, it was basically a trusted kind of thing, like where, he basically did it on, how he does it. And, we just kind of collaborated about it and yeah.
It's hard to trust somebody with your mix unless you've heard a lot of what they've done,
And that's the thing is Kyle's definitely like, he's got a variety of different, stuff that he records, from like heavy stuff to like, pop stuff to like whatever. So he's definitely got a good ear and a good engineering background, I should say, for all that. So it's cool to have it. And I would say like the production is slightly more like we try to find where it's like still kind of lo-fi, like that kind of, but also like cause he can definitely do like a higher production. So we try to like meet in the middle where it's like still, cathedral bells kind of thing. So I think, that's one thing too, like between Aaron and Kyle, they definitely understand and, like they have, there's a lot of that we can, collectively we can, bring to the project, which is exciting, and Aaron's a great drummer. He also, like everyone in the band plays, all different instruments. So yeah, so we're able to really like when we're talking about like, whatever, like the tracks we're able to understand, and it's
as far as influences are concerned, like I know The Cure is a big influence. What are bands that you listen to that when you're listening to it, it's like this, this is something I really pull from?
Well, for me, it's definitely more of like, I actually really like what Spirit Off is doing, the label that put out Ether. I just really like that, everything that they're doing, like the bands that they work with and the aesthetic. And, I like Castle Beat, which is what Josh is, does both the label and the project. But yeah, I'm into that. I like people just kind of doing like bedroom recordings and like making really cool stuff. And, that's what hits me the most personally. But I know like between Kyle and Aaron, that's, they have more of like classic shoegaze and like dream pop, which I'm into all things. But, yeah, I call Kyle as well, since he gets to record a lot of different bands. His background goes to, different, I think we all go. I love Jim Croce a lot, which is kind of random. So, we all have like our different random motivations and influences, and it's not just like focusing on like what is our sound. But like bands though, for sure, Stray Fossa is one I can think of. But they're always pumping out some great jams. Ralph TV is another project that I got to check out recently. I don't know. There's so many out there, and I know you get to cover so many as well. We're always on that same wavelength, which is nice.
And something I love about it is there seems to be a sense of community with a lot of these bands.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in it together. You know, we're just making music and, you know, trying to live life and make sense of everything. And I'm glad that we just, we're capable of making music and that we all want to hear it. You know, like I look forward to making music and putting it out there. And it's like, hey, hopefully my friends, will like this, that are doing cool things with their projects. And I mean, without that though, like there wouldn't be anything, so like I'm really appreciative towards anyone that's just, making music and it's great. It's like what I listen to, and that's, as you do, Puddle Gum, and I like to do, like playlisting. I like to just kind of get those tracks, heard from people that actually want to hear it, cause I mean, again, it all comes from like a personal place, we're just at home making music, or you go to the studio, wherever you go. Either way, it's a choice to make music, and for anyone to tune in is amazing. It's not what it's really about for me. It's just about making the music. But I mean, the fact that there's anyone checking it out, it's like crazy. And there's like David Dean Burkhardt too, which is a great, playlisting and, great source of music, the YouTube channel. So like, it's just a lot of places like that keeps everything together. And, we're out just, I love listening to new music or just new tracks coming out, and like, so the fact that like all the music pretty much sounds the same, but there's still like just something out there that comes out and it's like, man, that's just really hitting right now. It's just making sense. That's what I love. It's why you should create music as well. If anyone, that is a message to anyone that does want to do music, that should be it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Matt. Been awesome talking to you, and I'm sure we'll have you on the show again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and this has been quite the pleasure talking, and hopefully it made sense to someone out there.
If you'd like to learn more about Puddle Gum, visit us at puddlegum.blog.